Welcome to the August 13th joint meeting of the Technical Advisory Committees of the West Turlock Subbasin Groundwater Sustainability Agency and the East Turlock Groundwater Sustainability.
I'm good.
East Turlock Groundwater Sustainability Agency. Sorry, I'm a little bit flustered. This is our joint Technical Advisory Committee meeting. I chair Michael Cook with Turlock Irrigation District. I co-chair with Sarah Wolf from Eastside Water District. We kind of got some got at least one guest in the room, so maybe it's a good chance to just redo introductions so everybody knows who everybody is and which agency we represent, and then we'll go from there. So let me start with Richard on the far side.
Richard Linden, Daenerys, CSD.
Mike Pitcox, City of Waterford, representing Hickman.
Leandro Maldonado, Delhi County Water District.
My name is Godo Atume. I'm with University of California's Agriculture and Nature Resources, and
Welcome.
can provide more updates during public comment.
Sounds good.
Michael Clipper, TID.
Juan Ochoa, representing City of Modesto.
Christina Kiddo, Stanislaus County.
Caitlin Garcia, Legal Counsel for East Turlock Subbasin GSA. Sarah Wolf, Eastside Water District.
Mike Tietza, General Manager, East Turlock Subbasin GSA.
Ashley Chen Gonzalez, Merced County.
Matt Beeman, Merced Irrigation District.
I'm Michael Cook with Turlock Irrigation District. And
Cynthia Caldera with Turlock Irrigation.
okay. West Turlock Subbasin, we have a quorum, so I'm calling this our meeting's order at 2:08 p.m.
We also have a quorum, so we'll call our order as well.
Okay, wonderful. Our first item on the agenda is public participation. I know you've been here a long time, so I'm thinking maybe if you want to give your presentation now about some of the programs you're working on, we appreciate your patience. And you can let us know what the UC is up to and how you may be of assistance to growers in our area. So welcome.
Thank you. I don't want to make it awkward. I joined these meetings. I joined like TAC meetings, so I was in the area and I wanted to come by in person. I've never been in person, and wanted to say that. But the program that I'm working on, it's Sigma Technical Assistance for small scale farmers. It's based on a grant from Department. Please let me know if you can hear me, and I'm happy to repeat myself. It's based on a grant from Department of Water Resources. So it's the underrepresented communities grant that came from the legislature through Department of Water Resources to provide technical assistance to underrepresented stakeholders. And so part of those are disadvantaged communities, but my project is focused on small scale farmers. And then there's also some for environmental stakeholders. And so for the small farmer piece, University of California's Ag and Nature Resources, we are working to provide technical assistance to small-scale farmers. So I was just chatting with, I forget your name, Michael, about the extension office. There's an extension office here, but we have those in almost every county. And so this program, we're covering statewide, but for UC, we're covering 14 counties. And because we have advisors that work on the ground already with small-scale farmers, it's really the question of how to explain Sigma to them and how to bridge them into these conversations. So that is really what we're doing. There's a lot of outreach and engagement with the program, but again, we already work with many small scale farmers in the area. Many of them very tenant farmers, also socially disadvantaged farmers. Some are immigrant farmers, refugee farmers, do not speak English as a first language. And so they're not in these spaces. And I had questions like that when I heard the earlier presentations, just around saying there's feedback from growers. And I'm wondering if it's, the growers that we work with. So the goal of this program is to sort of bridge that gap between the GSAs and the vulnerable small-scale farmers, so that they're in the questions with allocations, fees, whatever a GSA is considering, bringing their input into that. So that is part of what we're doing. Again, we're covering 12 counties. So most of the San Joaquin Valley, some of the Central Coast, and some of Southern California, providing that education to them. There's also technical assistance, just to help them understand what is going on in the Sigma world until 2040, 2042. And so I'm in some of this meeting and some of these conversations to distill that information to them. And the goal really is to bridge that gap, have their inputs in some of the policies that GSAs are, adopting, whatever that might look like. And understandable that we're starting this program, it started in April, and Sigma's been here for 10 years. So there's a lot to do. Even in terms of outreach and engagement and bridging some of the education outreach aspects of the program. So it's on here for 2 years, funded by Department of Water Resources. And yeah, That is what we're aiming to do. And in some ways, I'm going around different GSAs. I didn't give an introduction of myself much into it, but I worked on Sigma for the past 3 years on drinking water side, so implementing the human rights water and drinking water mitigation. So I'm segueing from that to working with small scale farmers, which in many cases the same stakeholders. So that is sort of what the program is about, and I'm looking to sort of, introduce that to GSAs and work together to implement the program.
So how can we help you?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question. I mean, I can ask a question back of what has outreach and engagement looked like for these smaller farmers? And so I sort of gave a list there as we're going by the Farmer Equity Act of 2014, see socially disadvantaged farmers. So they're really disadvantaged farmers that have 5 acres or 10 acres, but will be impacted because they have irrigated lands. So the first question I pose back is, what has that looked like and where can we come in? Because it's a technical assistance program to, in some ways, support the efforts of the GSA.
Yeah, we did a lot of outreach and engagement in the early days of developing our GSP, but a lot of our DAC stuff was, more like rural communities, not necessarily small scale farmers. I would say there's a potential gap in some of the work we did. I think it'd be helpful to have like your contact information and anything we can get about your program. So as we work with people, we can kind of send them your way and go from there.
So I just would like to add that, so she works together with Alyssa on this program. And we are just starting our community, our engagement planning for the MLRP program. And we've come to the same conclusion that you did, which is that, we have a gap in that there's a portion of our population that we're supposed to be serving that we don't think we understand very well. So that's something where we may want to reach out and talk further. We have Self-Help Enterprises putting together an outreach and engagement plan for us for our land repurposing program. So, I mean, if that's something that is aligned with what you're doing, that's something that we could talk about further.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because it's the entirety of Sigma, it's multi-benefit. If there's an allocations, if well registration, whatever a GSA is considering, those different programs, we want to bring small farmer inputs into that before they're considered and adopted. So yeah, all the programs that the GSA is considering, we want to bring small farmer stakeholders to the table, like their inputs into that. So yeah, like I said, there's a lot of partnership that needs to happen with the GSA in order to achieve that with the small scale farmers. And this might look like, doing surveys with them, having workshops, just field days, meeting them where they are in some ways of translating that information, but also having their inputs into whatever field study fee study, for instance, you're considering, understanding what that looks like from their perspective, especially if they'll be impacted by those fees or those allocations. Yeah, so reason.
It's Christy.
Would you be the boots on the ground contact for all the GSAs?
No.
Instead of South County?
No.
Could you help me find people?
Like Alicia knows, we're hiring staff that would work in the area. So for I think Turlock, Stanislaus County, we're going county where 3 counties will have a staff person that will be the contact person. I'm working in Davis, I'm based in Davis.
Okay.
But before we hire, it's happening. Probably by the fall, before we hire, I'm sort of going around 14 counties. It's actually 14 counties with their many GSAs. So yeah, we're gonna have staff and then they would be the contact person and, hopefully attend more meetings as well.
Excellent. Good timing. Stanislaus County is putting together some regulations for metering and monitoring and reporting, and we're considering exemptions for small pumpers. So we've been just kind of looking at, would we exempt somebody that had like 5 acres, maybe? So we'd like to get some insight from your agency regarding that.
Yeah, but in the meantime, I'm the contact, so I'm happy to share my contact and then connect.
Thanks.
Any more questions? Thanks everybody for coming. Oh, sorry. Thanks so much for coming and being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And glad to know you were here as a resource. We have you as a resource, and as we develop our study, like Mike said, we have gaps. We know that, and knowing there's someone who can help us plug those gaps is great. So thank you. Appreciate the time. Okay. Moving on to item number 4, approval of the minutes of the last meeting. This is the July 9th, 2024 regular joint meeting of the West Turlock and East Turlock GSA Technical Advisory Committees. Those minutes were sent around earlier in the week. Can I get a motion from anyone on the West Turlock to approve the minutes from July 9th? Motion made by Richard, with a second,
Second.
second by Leandro. Any further discussion? Any changes to the minutes? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes from July 9th stand approved. Sarah,
We need to approve the same minutes for East Turlock for the same date. Can I get a motion to approve those?
I'll move.
Thanks, Matt. Second? Christie, get that one? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
moving to item number 5, budget update, Michael Clipper.
For the West Turlock, we had $1,165,299.43 in our account as of July 31st. For the basin, we had $580,559.34 as of the same time period. One, if you want, I will be sending out invoices for the West Turlock folks here in the next couple of weeks. So just kind of keep your eyes open for that. And that's about it. Any questions for me?
Thanks, Michael. Any questions for Michael? Here's not, Sarah, do you have an update?
I do. I have an account balance at the end of July for East Turlock of $354,243.47.
Hey, Michael, are you sending out invoices for the new budget year yet?
That's what I was saying, in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, next one, perfect. Thank you. Sorry, I missed that. Okay, moving on to item number 6, action item. We're looking for approval for a task order for Todd Groundwater to develop the well mitigation plan. So as you remember, when we put together our revised GSP, one of the requests from DWR is we put together a well mitigation plan program, knowing that there's going to be a time period in the early days of the implementation of the GSP where in some instances, water levels will go below minimum thresholds to interim milestones, which means additional wells will go dry, and we are obligated to mitigate the impacts of lowered groundwater levels on those wells. So a dry well mitigation program. So we did an outline of an MOU that kind of sketched a framework of what that program could look like. We put that in the revised GSP and made a commitment to DWR that we would get this program done by January 31st of next year. So we basically have 5 months to get this done. When the board adopted our budget, we did budget for this work. And if you remember at the last meeting, at least for the West Turlock board, when we talked about the revised GSP, I did highlight that the well mitigation plan was part of the revised GSP, and it's one of the things we do have to do. So it's been kind of as a requirement for most of the revised GSPs in the San Joaquin Valley. I spoke to Todd Groundwater, and they're putting that task order together for us. Haven't got a final scope of work, but in the interest of time, I do want to get them started on it, just because I don't want to wait another month. They said the cost should be about $50,000. We've budgeted quite a bit more than that for that work, so that's good. And then secondly, it appears that the revised GSP cost us less than we had budgeted to. So we can reappropriate funds left over from the revised GSP for some of this work too. So what I'm looking for is a motion to approve a task order for Todd Groundwater to start work on the well mitigation plan up to $50,000. So that's the deal. Do you make that motion, one? Motion. I haven't barely finished the presentation. We have a motion already. Are there any questions from me or any thoughts?
I'll sleep on the other.
Oh, that's great, Bill. I'm all about it. Any questions about that concept? Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? This is for West Turlock, by the way.
Again, Hickman.
Don't worry, I don't know how you do your business on these, Sarah. If you've already budgeted, we actually have to take action.
Yeah, you guys take action. People do it at our GSA meeting, I'm assuming through our, but we had some budget
Yeah.
in there already.
You can do it at our tax level as long as it's within our budget. Okay. So a motion from Juan. Do we have a second?
There's a
Second
second.
from Michael. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion stands approved. Sarah?
Yeah, I think I'm just conferring, we're pretty positive. We did have it in our budget already.
Right.
And so we won't need to take action. So it's already there and available for ETS GSA to support. So.
Yeah, I can confirm we've had it in our budget, so
Right.
we're good.
So we're,
We all knew it was something we had to do. So that's great. And when I get the final documents from Liz and Todd Groundwater, I'll get those out to everybody so we know what we're working on. And we probably will need a subgroup to help us put that document together. Yes, Juan?
One thing that I wanted to ask, so I know that right now the GSP is in the comment period and we're under budget, but it looks like there's been 4 or 5 comments submitted.
Okay.
So are we is the state gonna make us require a response to those comments or how's that work?
Possibly. We did budget some money for response to comments too. But again, I don't know what maybe legal counsel can help us with this one. I don't know if we do actually have to respond to comments or just DWR does.
I'll be checking in with you on this, Sarah.
see if we need to.
Yeah, I am not up to speed on the comments that have been submitted.
Right.
So we'll look
I
into
mean, I've seen them. I get an update when they get submitted.
One was like 29 pages. I was like, gee, a lot of time. On their
We
hands.
may have had it pre-written.
All of them are boilerplate. You've seen them throughout the.
Yeah, I hear you, but I filled in the stuff pretty well.
And remember, and DWR explained to us, this comment period is about the changes to the plan they requested. They're not going back to look at the whole plan from the beginning, right? And so the comments need to be focused on that. But again, I think the comments are really for DWR to look at, but again, we'll see what happens at that time. I mean, hopefully, well, in my mind, hopefully they ask us to respond to the comments, because that means they like our revised GSP. They want us to respond to comments. They say, don't bother, it means the thing's tanking. Why bother? The ship's sinking. But anyway, so it's a good question. We can follow up and find out more what the obligations on the response to comment.
I don't think NIMS or the Central Valley was a problem. They just say, hey, if there's projects, there'd be a potential permit that you need, blah, blah, blah.
Those were 2022 comments. So
Yeah.
they're,
Yeah, and those things are, if you look at our ISAs, the projects we put together, we mentioned the permits we know we need to get. So they're telling us what we already know, which is fine, but they're just covering their bases, and I understand that.
The other one went on a tangent, like,
You've all worked in local government for a long time, right? You know,
yeah.
public comments open up. Okay, well, thanks for working on that task order. And then item number 7 is the water accounting framework. Now, for Sarah, you want to take the lead on this, or I'm happy to, or?
Sure, I can. So I think this both tax no since we submitted the GSP, we have committed to moving forward on coming to an agreement on the water accounting framework between our 2 GSAs. And I think we have been diligent on working on that and have successfully been able to come to an agreement in the last few months that allows for WTS GSA and ETS GSA to move forward with balancing our groundwater use and reaching sustainability over the period of time by utilizing groundwater that's in the basin and being able to I'm going to use the term wean ourselves off of the use of that and convert some of that land into land repurposing through land fallowing or other purposes. So this agreement was something that was needed in the GSP, and I think we did a good job of reaching our goal, getting it done. TID approved it last week.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I think, yeah.
2 weeks ago, and we had ETS GSA approved it just a week prior to TID approval. So both of those boards have approved it, and I believe now it will be an agreement between TID, ETS GSA, and WTS GSA. So all parties will be participants in it, but we think that it's going to be an excellent document that we can move forward on joint projects, finding ways to maximize any excess water that might be available in high water years and put it to use on the ETS GSA side through new delivery systems that will take it hopefully to areas with high pressure, like the cone of depression, or areas we're seeing subsidence, and really expand some of the projects that we've already been working on through the GSP.
And as you've probably seen the agenda, but the West Turlock Board sees it this Thursday night, and that will kind of be the last signatory to the agreement. As Sarah said, it's one of those sticking points that has kind of stopped us moving together on implementation. We've got past that sticking point now, and it's a great foundation for everybody to start working together on groundwater sustainability in the region. So I think that's the key point, the commitment, both sides of the sub-basin as well as TID, to like, let's work regionally, let's work locally to, improve conditions in our region and work together to protect the local ag economy and, ag manufacturing and food processing and all the things that all the jobs and everything that goes with that. So it's exciting times, and I know Sarah and Mike and everybody's worked so hard to get this done. We do appreciate that. So it's nice to move forward. So I know Jennifer's diligently making sure we have a quorum for Thursday night. So whoever your rep is, make sure they're there. So we get this approved, and we haven't talked about this, Sarah, but I'm so tempted to mail it to DWR or put it on their radar, even though it's not. I mean, probably the formal way would be to do it as part of our annual report, but by then they've probably finished up their review. So it was something we can talk about.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we had discussed that prior, that knowing that it likely would have to happen after the submittal of our GSP revisions, it would still be good to transmit it to them and let them know that we've made this success. And I think, Caitlin, maybe you remember in the original agreement in the GSP of how we were going to work through this, there were deadlines, and it might be something that we can reference back to that and say we have completed this process that we identified in the original GSP. And
I have a suggestion. Comments that you upload on GSP are not limited to criticisms. Maybe, a member agency can upload it as a comment and say, hey, we've got this important foundational piece that's done now to help assure the success of the GSP, go team. Just a suggestion. And I don't know who that should be, but perhaps jointly TID and EWD could submit something like that. I think that would be very.
The Western, yeah, okay. I don't want the comment period ends as 60 days, right? From
I think it's 60 days, yeah.
July 16th. So we're still well within that. Okay.
Yeah, add a comment anytime.
Yeah.
A formal submittal to DWR, and then also a comment on the public.
Right. I think it's good to show, one, we're implementing the GSP, and two, we've solved a problem that helps with further implementation of the GSP, right? So it shows our intent and commitment, which is big.
According to the Sigma portal, the end of public comment, the public comment period is September 16th.
Okay.
Good.
Just over a month.
So I had one slide I wanted to share.
Go ahead.
So let me see if I can do that. Here it is. So, just go ahead and leave it like this. So, just kind of forward looking, and I know, we've talked about, how, moving forward on projects together. Sorry, I should have passed out, glasses. Let's see. Not sure how to make this the whole screen without being able to get to the bottom. Apologies. Let's do this. Okay. So just a couple of things that logistically that I think we ought to be moving forward on is setting up some sort of a forum for collaborative planning with WTS, GSA, and TID on project opportunities. What we are planning to do is develop conceptual plans and cost estimates for our GSP projects. So we had phase 2 and phase 3 expansion of replenishment water and recharge near existing canals. We proposed there a BCWD focus since they're located kind of front and central to our subsidence priority action area. Phase 3 expansion of replenishment water and recharge to the center of the cone of depression. That's a little bit longer term and, but not too early to start talking about it. We need to start talking about it in concept because ETS GSA needs to get the infrastructure financed. And we're working on that right now. Our priority projects, we plan to use several projects as case studies for our multi-benefit land repurposing plan and our permit management plan. And those case studies, 2 of them will be in our subsidence priority action area. So the first, and that kind of comes in 3 phases. The first is really to expand our, assess and expand our replenishment water delivery in BCWD west of the Highline Canal, assess where we're at and expand that to the degree that we can. The second is land repurposing and infrastructure for water storage and recharge in the Mustang Creek area. That's partially related to this agreement. Well, it's entirely related to this agreement in that it's action that reduces groundwater demand. And it would partially rely on replenishment water. So that's phase 2 of projects in our subsidence priority action area. Then a long-term view, we toured the Mustang Creek area and feel that in the long term that would be a good area for a riparian and aquatic habitat project. And so we want to, further assess what's the opportunity for a project there, perhaps in collaboration with NGOs such as Nature Conservancy or Audubon, and potentially, a habitat project that could be funded by the Wildlife Conservation Board. So that's somewhat aspirational. You're hearing that from me right now. It's not something that's on the ground, but something that we might consider in the next 4 or 5 years. And then secondly, the Monte Vista Recharge Project on Sand Creek. And we're looking at adding a monitoring well and instrumenting a basin that's being excavated there and providing permit planning and support. And I know that, EWD is talking to TID about an additional side gate in that area as well off of the Highline Canal. So I just thought it would be apropos to start talking about now that we're done working on our agreement, we can go through the therapy of working together to actually get projects on the ground.
Okay. Making notes. Any questions about implementation, where we are? All that stuff, water accounting? Okay, hearing none. Any other Sigma related updates while we're all here? Things going on in your various agencies related to groundwater or surface water or water resources, water quality type of stuff? Exciting.
We didn't get the grant for the one that we submitted for the Water Smart, but we have a debriefing with and this was the big one, the $5 million one. So I kind of went back and I looked at the previous 3 project or the funding opportunities that they had awarded projects. So basically our project, when they asked, okay, well, how much is your project going to save? We used 15% of our total water loss, which was just under 400 acre feet per year. But when you looked at some of their bigger projects, they were about 1,200 to 16,000 acre feet per year for $5 million. And even some of their smaller projects that were $500,000, they were water conservation of about 600 acre feet per year. So I can kind of see the correlation there, but hopefully, if we have, we have this debriefing, if we're like almost right there and they say, hey, just go back and sharpen your pencil or something, we can, and then if that's the case, they say, hey, you have a good chance to resubmit for November, October, we would do so that.
That's good. Thanks for the update. Anything else, Mike, you work on any grant stuff or? No?
Well, let's see, Alyssa mentioned during our TAC meeting, during the East Turlock TAC meeting, that we're going to be submitting a letter of support for a grant opportunity to do some research on some test plots and an almond farm on behalf of the almond board. So it would be looking at cutting back irrigation to different amounts as a test and different types of surface cover for soil moisture retention. Not a huge grant, but it would be an exciting project for us because it would really help us to demonstrate, what it means to decrease water demand and what might be able to be done with surface cover in order to use that remaining water more efficiently. In other news, we are continuing to move forward with our MLRP planning. We are putting out a survey to growers to determine the right amount of incentive funding for land repurposing. We took a site tour with Self-Help Enterprises last week, and we're going to get them going. We're going to meet with Department of Conservation regarding our proposed approach to providing direct disadvantaged community benefits, which is something that is going to be required to be demonstrated under the program. So, it's a good thing, but it's a challenge. So we're going to have to figure out how to do that. We are moving forward on our Prop 218 for a groundwater extraction fee. And we're aiming to have our engineers report done by November. We're working on rules and regulations for our groundwater accounting platform. And those rules and regulations, the initial batch, we hope to have adopted in October. And I'm sure I'm leaving something off, but that's enough. So
I think just to support that, the 218 on the groundwater pumping is to support the allocation that we are rolling out in November 2024 through the next water year.
And at TID, we had one of our capital planning workshops with the board this morning because our fiscal year is the calendar year. So we're getting ready to adopt a budget in December. So we're going through workshops right now. And one of the programs we're looking at is a subsurface recharge using, they call it reverse tile drain. So basically it's perforated pipe put in the ground about 12, 14 feet in the ground below the root zone. And then you pump water into them through a filter. And obviously that goes into the pipe and then percolates into the aquifer. So it's been used in other parts of the valley with great success. So we've got kind of two pilot programs. One is using kind of along the shoulders of our canal banks. So we have miles and miles of canal bank. It'll be a fairly straightforward project. So we took a segment of our canal that we're looking at doing it kind of in the northeast portion of the district. And also we're cooperating with a grower in kind of the Balico area. I think he has, I can't remember if it's 20 or 40 acres that he's replacing his orchard. And we're going to work with him, put this piping below the ground before he plants his new orchard and kind of see how, kind of proof of concept to see how well that goes. So, the joy is there's no evap, it's all below the ground. And there's no issue. Well, you have to get through the heart, depending where it is, but get through those confining layers and it's straight into the aquifer. So pretty excited to look at that. Could be a good way to go going forward because perk basins sometimes have challenges of it's more expense up front, but a little bit more, but similar or less O&M than having a perk basin, but potentially more impactful over time. So we'll see. But that was a couple of projects we shared with our board this morning that we're looking at as a district. So. Okay, anything else from anybody? Okay, hearing none, ma'am, we are time efficient today. I like that. No complaints from me. Okay, our next joint meeting is scheduled for September 10th, 2:00 in this room. So I'll see you all then. And so can I get a motion for adjournment from the West Turlock GSA TAC? Motion made by Richard. Do we have a second? Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye. West Turlock is adjourned at 2:42. East Turlock.
Mr. Luck, I need a motion to adjourn. Ashley, thank you. Second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Matt. All those in favor? Motion carries and we are adjourned at 2:43.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh,